My name is Jenna Scott. And the moment my husband and his mother boarded that plane to Miami without me, they didn't know I was following them, with someone they believed would never walk or speak again. For 5 years they kept her in the shadows. A girl in a wheelchair, labeled as damaged, mute, paralyzed, forgotten. They thought she couldn't move, couldn't hear, couldn't feel. They thought I wouldn't fight back, that I'd stay in Savannah, cooking their meals, smiling through their lies. But they were wrong about both of us. Because the woman they used as a prop, she's standing. And the wife they tried to erase, she's watching. And tonight, we're flying into the heart of their little family secret. With receipts, with recordings, with the kind of truth that doesn't ask for forgiveness. It demands consequences. This isn't just revenge. This is reckoning. I used to believe that love could fix anything. That if you gave enough, endured enough, smiled enough, eventually the people around you would see your worth. That belief nearly destroyed me. My name is Jenna Scott. I'm 34. I used to be a high school music teacher in Savannah, Georgia. I loved kids. Loved the way a shy student's eyes lit up when they played their first chord. I had dreams, simple ones. I wanted to open a music center for underprivileged children. Nothing fancy. Just a place where broken things could become beautiful again. Then I married into the Hale family. Cameron Hale looked like every woman's dream. Tall, polished, successful. A rising star at the bank. He said he loved how passionate I was. How I lit up when I talked about music. He said I brought color into his black and white world. But the moment I moved into the Hale estate, an old colonial-style house just outside Savannah, I felt the walls tighten around me. It was beautiful, yes. Grand even. But behind every chandelier and manicured rose bush, there was control. Cold, quiet control. Viola Hale, my mother-in-law, ruled that house like a southern queen with a porcelain smile and steel claws. She never raised her voice. She didn't need to. Every word was a judgment disguised as concern. "Oh honey, you're wearing that to dinner. Don't worry, not every woman is meant to be a mother. Maybe one day you'll understand what it really means to support a man like Cameron." She never said I didn't belong. She just made sure I felt it every single day. First, Cameron defended me. Or pretended to. But it didn't take long before his silence became agreement. Then came the comments. The accusations. The passive-aggressive jabs at my career. Maybe if you focused less on your little hobby and more on being a wife, Mom wouldn't be so tense. He called my dream a side project. He called my boundaries drama. He called my silence compliance. But silence isn't agreement. It's survival. I learned to cook the meals Viola liked. To fold napkins her way. To dress down in the house, but smile when we had guests. I stopped playing piano after dark. She said it gave her migraines. Slowly I disappeared. Until the only person who saw me was someone they didn't think could see anything at all. Her name was Ava. They called her the tragedy in the wheelchair. But what they didn't know, what no one knew, was that Ava was watching. And she was about to become my secret weapon. It started with a folder. Inside were sketches of classrooms, lists of potential donors, and a simple vision. A music center for kids who had nowhere else to go. I spent months working on it. Late at night after Cameron had fallen asleep, quietly humming while designing a space where children could find their voice. One night over dinner I brought it up. Carefully, hopefully. "I've been working on something," I said. "I think I can actually launch the center by next spring." Cameron didn't even look up from his phone. Viola took a slow sip of her wine, then gave me that smile. The one that always made me feel like a child who just spilled juice on her perfect rug. "Oh Jenna," she said sweetly. "That's adorable." "Adorable. Like a puppy in a costume," Cameron added. "It's a noble idea, babe. But maybe wait until you're in a place where you've really, figured out how to manage things here." Manage things. As in the laundry. His mother's dinner schedule. Ava's caretaking routine. My dream was inconvenient. Not lucrative. not respectable in Hale terms. Eventually the piano went silent. I stopped playing, stopped dreaming, stopped speaking unless spoken to. I became the kind of woman Viola approved of. Quiet, agreeable, invisible. And Cameron, he turned into someone I didn't recognize. He used to bring home fresh bagels on Saturdays. Now he brought silence, and the faint smell of someone else's perfume on his collar. He claimed he was working late. He called me sensitive when I asked questions. Said maybe I was depressed. Said maybe I needed to talk to someone. Said maybe I wasn't trying hard enough. There's a special kind of loneliness that comes from being ignored in a room full of people who once claimed to love you. And when your every word is twisted, your every move analyzed, your body turned into a tool for blame and shame, you begin to doubt the shape of your own reality. By that point, even my reflection didn't look like me anymore. I was just the help, the placeholder, the woman who didn't know how to be a real wife. And right when I was at my lowest, buried under shame, silence, and their expectations, a single glance changed everything. It came from the corner of the room, from a wheelchair, from a pair of sharp, quiet eyes that had seen far too much. Ava. They thought she couldn't walk. They thought she couldn't speak. But she was listening. And soon I'd learn she'd been waiting, not for pity, but for the right moment to rise. Ava Hale was the ghost of the Hale household, 24 years old, once vibrant, once artistic, until a car crash at 19 left her in a wheelchair. That's the story they told everyone. Paralyzed, nonverbal, damaged beyond repair. But there was something off about that narrative. Something too clean. From the moment I moved in, Ava had been handed to me like a task. Not a sister-in-law. Not a person. A responsibility. She likes to be near the window, Viola would say. Don't bother talking to her. She doesn't respond. Feed her the soft stuff and be careful, she can't express pain. And for 5 long years I obeyed. I wheeled her to the garden, played soft music in the background, wiped her chin when they looked away. But then one afternoon, when the house was quiet and the air heavy with the Georgia heat, something happened. I was humming, just a simple melody I used to teach my students. My fingers tapping lightly on the armrest of her chair, in rhythm. And then she blinked. Not randomly. 3 slow, steady blinks, perfectly in time with the beat. Froze. Ava, I whispered. She blinked once. I stepped closer, changed the rhythm. She blinked again in sync. My heart pounded. This wasn't muscle memory. This was communication. The next day I tested it again. New rhythms, new sounds. Every time she responded. Over the following weeks, I introduced patterns. 1 blink for yes, 2 for no, 3, 4 again. It was crude, but it worked. And then came the moment I'll never forget. I leaned in, whispered, "Are you really paralyzed?" She stared at me, then slowly closed her eyes, held them shut. Open. Once. I couldn't breathe. Took weeks, but I pieced it together. In fragments. In code. Ava wasn't broken. She was pretending. And when I asked her why, the answer chilled me. She didn't blink it. She mouthed it. They were going to marry me off. Viola had arranged something. Deal. A man twice her age. Ava had fought back. Crashed the car on purpose to escape it all. Everyone believed she'd lost everything. But she gained freedom at a cost. And now she'd been trapped in that chair for 5 years, playing the part of the helpless girl. Watching. Listening. Collecting stories. And secrets. When she saw me breaking down, she knew it was time. 2 women, cornered in different ways, finally seeing each other for who they truly were. Not victims, but survivors. And soon co-conspirators. Ava and I became shadows within the Hale estate, moving silently, watching closely, building a language of survival with nothing but blinks, scribbled words, and the kind of trust forged only in captivity. We never spoke aloud. Not in the house. Not when anyone was near. Because Ava knew walls had ears in that place. especially when they were covered in expensive wallpaper and family portraits. I bought her a notepad, discreetly tucked behind a stack of magazines. Each night, when everyone was asleep, I'd help her stretch her fingers. The first words she wrote weren't shaky or weak. They were surgical. Cameron cheats. Viola knows. I stared at the page, the ink still drying. She nodded once. Over the next few weeks, the notebook filled with things I didn't want to believe, but couldn't ignore. Cameron wasn't just cheating on me. He was using company funds for his affairs. Lavish dinners, hotel rooms under fake names. Ava had overheard him on the phone. Viola had seen the receipts. And instead of stopping him, she covered it up. Because image was everything. One night, Ava reached under her mattress and pulled out an old flash drive. Her hands trembled. "I wasn't always pretending," she wrote. Inside were voice memos, some faint, some terrifyingly clear. In one, Viola berated Ava, her voice venomous. "You think you can say no to me? After all I've done for you. You will marry him. You're not special. You're just another Hale girl who needs to shut up and look pretty." In another recording, Ava was crying, pleading, and then the crash. Metal glass screaming. She'd recorded the moments before her accident. She had proof she wasn't a victim of tragedy. She was a rebel against control. That night, I sat on the floor of her room for hours, my head in my hands. Everything made sense now. Why Viola hated me. Why Cameron resented me. Why this house never felt like a home. It wasn't a family. It was a machine. Polished on the outside. Rotten at the core. And we were cogs that refused to spin quietly. Ava looked at me, eyes burning with something fierce. Not anger. Not pain. Purpose. She scribbled. "I can walk. I've been practicing at night. But we need to wait for the right moment." We planned in whispers. We mapped their movements. We bought a hidden camera. Planted voice recorders. Tracked digital trails. Every insult. Every manipulation. Every secret deal. We archived it all. And with each new piece of truth, I felt something I hadn't in years. Power. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving the Hale family. I was preparing to end them. It started with a whisper at breakfast. Viola sipped her tea like always, her voice casual, pleasant. Too pleasant. "Oh, by the way, Cam and I are flying to Miami next weekend. Just a little family reset. Sun, ocean, and peace." Blinked. "Miami." Cameron didn't look up from his phone. "Yeah, we figured we needed some space. Time to recalibrate, you know." No mention of me. No seat offered. No bag packed. Just silence, and then their version of a smile. Viola folded her napkin neatly. "You've seemed overwhelmed lately, dear. It's probably best you stay behind. Focus on rest. We'll bring back souvenirs." Souvenirs. I wanted to laugh. Or scream. Or both. Instead, I nodded. Because I finally understood what they were doing. They weren't just taking a trip. They were writing me out. Erasing me in broad daylight. With perfectly timed gaslighting and faux concern. Later that night, I found Ava in her room. She was already holding the notebook, as if she knew. She wrote, "They're going to break you." I shook my head. "Not this time." And that's when Ava handed me something. Black device, small, sleek. A voice recorder. "I left it in Viola's study this morning," she scribbled. We plugged it into my laptop. First just shuffling sounds. Then her voice, sharp, smug. "She'll be fine. Honestly, I think she likes the drama. Keeps her relevant." Cameron's voice followed, cold, clipped. "As long as she doesn't come, we'll be good. I told the partners she's struggling mentally. No one questions you when you say, anxiety anymore." They laughed. They laughed while planning to exile me like I was some unstable stranger. They called it damage control. That night I didn't cry. Packed a bag. Then I booked 2 tickets to Miami. One under my name. And one under Ava's. Next we called a lawyer. Quietly. Discreetly. Then a private investigator. Then a photographer. And finally, a woman named Trina, a journalist who owed Ava a favor from her pre-crash art school days. Our trap was being built, wire by wire, word by word. And while they toasted champagne over the waves, basking in their own cruelty, we were already there, watching, waiting, recording, because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's calculated, controlled, and when it strikes, it leaves no room to rewrite the story, only to regret underestimating the one they tried to erase. The restaurant was 5 stars. All marble floors, golden chandeliers, soft jazz playing behind champagne flutes and fake laughter. They didn't know we were there. Viola was seated at the head of the table, wrapped in her signature pearls, sipping from a glass she hadn't paid for. Her voice rang out clear, calculated as always. "She's fine," she told the extended family. "Jenna's just fragile. Not everyone's cut out for life in a family like ours." Polite chuckles, sympathetic nods. Someone murmured something about mental health awareness. Cameron leaned back smug. "She's been distant, cold. I told her to stay home. Honestly, it's better this way." A toast was raised in my absence. And that's when the front doors opened. Every head turned. I stepped in first, black dress, calm face, camera already rolling from the clutch in my hand. Behind me came Ava, walking. No wheelchair, no blank stare, just quiet, steady steps. She wore a navy silk blouse and the kind of stare that didn't need words to make a room go still. Viola choked on her wine. Cameron's jaw dropped. The silence was perfect. I walked to the center of the table, looked directly at Viola and said, "Funny, I guess the trauma healed when the lies got too loud." A phone clattered to the floor. I reached into my bag and pulled out the tablet. "Play." Viola's voice poured from the speakers, clear, undeniable. "Tell the partner she's unstable. We'll say it's burnout. Who's going to question a woman crying in the pantry? Then Cameron. Let her spiral. When she signs over the house, I'll cut her loose." I turned the volume up. Another clip. Viola mocking Ava's condition, calling her dead weight, admitting she forged documents to keep Ava out of medical reviews. And then, one more video. Cameron in a hotel room, kissing a woman, holding up his bank's ID while laughing. On tape. A distant cousin stood up, started live streaming. The waitress stopped mid-pour. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Cameron tried to speak, stuttering. "You don't understand." Ava stepped forward. Her voice, clear, cold, cut through him like glass. "No, Cameron. You don't understand. I remember everything." Her first public words in 5 years. Viola stood furious. "How dare you?" I didn't flinch. "How dare you think I wouldn't fight back?" Security didn't come. No one stopped us. They were too busy watching history unravel. In real time. That night, the Hale family's legacy didn't just crack. Shattered. The silence after Ava's voice was so loud it rang. Her words, "I remember everything," hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. Cameron took a shaky step forward. This is insane." I smiled, just enough to let him know I was done being quiet. I turned to the tablet again. One more video. One last nail. Viola, sitting at her desk sipping bourbon. The footage was grainy, but the audio was crystal clear. If the auditors ever dig into Cameron's accounts, it's over. He used the firm's client transfers to cover that whole mess in Tampa. But it's fine. I shredded the statements. Gasps erupted. One of the cousins dropped her phone. Another quietly stepped away. Texting someone, maybe a lawyer. I didn't stop. "You wanted to erase me," I said. "But instead you gave me time to watch. To record. To gather everything." Ava held up a manila folder. Inside, copies of falsified medical records, prescriptions Cameron ordered under my name, anti-anxiety drugs I never agreed to take. "You tried to make me seem unstable," I said, holding up a printed email chain. "You told my employer I was unfit to work. You called my students' parents and questioned my mental state. Viola stood, trembling now, but trying to hold her mask. Jenna, you don't understand. This family, this name, is built on lies, I cut in. And I'm done helping you polish them. Then Ava stepped forward. In front of everyone. Her voice stronger now. Viola Hale manipulated my diagnosis, denied me therapy, and locked me away so I couldn't speak. I wasn't disabled. I was imprisoned. It was all documented. Signatures. One of the younger Hale men, Cameron's cousin I think, spoke up for the first time. You forged medical records. Viola's face turned ghost white. Cameron looked at me, desperate now. We can fix this. Jenna, think about what you're doing. Think about. I did, I said. For 5 years. A server approached the table, awkwardly clearing dishes. Sorry ma'am, but there are reporters outside asking for someone named Jenna Scott. I didn't look surprised. Neither did Ava. We'd called them an hour ago. Outside, Trina, the journalist Ava had trusted, was already live-streaming. Headlines were updating by the minute. Bank exec caught in fraud scandal. Wife exposes cover-up. Southern matriarch under fire for faking disability of young woman. The Hale legacy implodes at family dinner. I turned back to Cameron and Viola. I don't want your apologies, I said. I want you to watch everything you built on silence collapse. And with that, Ava and I turned and walked out. Back straight. Shoulders squared. Behind us, the whispers grew louder than the lies ever were. By Monday morning, the Hale name was poison. Every major news outlet had picked up the story. Headlines screamed across digital pages. Southern dynasty exposed in disability cover-up and financial fraud. Wife and mute sister-in-law reveal years of psychological abuse. Cameron was suspended by noon. By Friday he was fired, disgraced, under investigation, and escorted out of the bank in front of a sea of cameras. The company launched a full-scale audit. Turns out the fraud went deeper than anyone expected. Money trails, offshore transfers, clients misled under false pretenses. His license was revoked. His reputation obliterated. Viola tried to play the matriarch card, tried to cry on camera, claiming it was all misunderstood family matters. But the audio clips, the forged signatures, and Ava's voice speaking on national television destroyed any sympathy she might have had. Clubs dropped her. Charities blacklisted her. Even her book club removed her from their group chat. In a single week, she went from respected socialite to a pariah hiding behind blackout curtains. Ava. She was declared mentally and physically competent after a full psychiatric and neurological evaluation. Doctors confirmed it. There had been nothing physically preventing her from walking or speaking for years. The diagnosis: severe trauma response and prolonged psychological coercion. She was finally free, on paper and in truth. As for me, filed for divorce. Publicly. Proudly. And when Cameron tried to fight for the house, the judge laughed. Literally. The document spoke louder than his suit and tie ever could. Got the house. Car. In peace. But that wasn't what mattered. What mattered was what came next. The Hale estate, once pristine, polished and full of secrets, now sat cold and empty. I didn't want it. I donated it. To an organization that helps women fleeing emotional abuse and family coercion. The same kind of pain I once thought I had to endure in silence. Ava and I moved out the same day. She chose a small apartment near the art school downtown. I bought a modest home, light-filled, quiet, mine. People asked if I missed anything about the Hale family. My answer: not even their ghost. Because ghosts only haunt when you leave something unfinished. And I burned it all to the ground. Healing doesn't come with headlines. Comes in small moments. The first time I woke up in my new home and didn't feel the weight of someone else's expectations pressing on my chest. The first time I poured coffee and didn't hear Viola's voice in my head, criticizing how I held the mug. The first time I played the piano again. I sat on the bench, fingers hovering above the keys, unsure if the music would still come. Did. Not perfectly. Not fluently. But real. Mine. That same week, I filed the papers to open the music center I'd once been told was a silly hobby. But this time it had a new name. The Ava Project. A space for women and girls recovering from psychological manipulation, domestic control, or just the heavy silence of being unseen. We offered music classes, art therapy, legal resources, quiet rooms, laughter-filled rooms. And we didn't ask what they'd been through, just what they wanted to rebuild. As for Ava, she applied to the Savannah Institute of Visual Arts. Her essay started with 5 words. They tried to erase me. She got in. Scholarship. Full ride. The day the letter arrived, she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just walked over to me, hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for seeing me when no one else did." She painted every day after that. Walls in her apartment were filled with colors she never got to use in the Hale house. No more grays. No more beiges. Only bold, defiant shades. Maroons, sapphires, gold leaf outlines that shimmered in sunlight. One of her pieces, an abstract portrait of a woman in a broken cage, was selected for a regional exhibition. She titled it, "Rehearsal for Flight." People say time heals everything. That's not true. Truth heals everything. And the truth is, we didn't just survive the Hale family. We outgrew them. We replaced their noise with purpose. Their silence with art. Their legacy with our own. One that begins, not with control but with choice. Now, I teach music to women who were told their voices didn't matter. Ava paints in the room next door. Sometimes she hums along to my piano. And every afternoon, the sunlight pours in through the windows, washing everything in gold. We don't need permission anymore. We don't ask for space. Take it. Because freedom doesn't come when the door opens. Comes when you realize you were always holding the key. 6 months after the restaurant, the Hale name had faded from headlines, replaced by fresher scandals. But the wounds they left behind didn't vanish so easily. Ava was getting ready for her first gallery debut, an evening show themed around resilience. I had just finished teaching a piano class to 3 young girls who once thought speaking up would cost them everything. It was a quiet morning. Soft light filtered through the blinds. I was sipping coffee when I heard the mail slot click. Ills. Magazine. And one envelope, thick cream-colored with gold trim. No return address. But I recognized the handwriting instantly. Viola Hale. Opened it. Inside, 4 neatly typed pages. No excuses. No real remorse. Just pleading. I know we've made mistakes. I know we didn't treat you fairly. But Cameron is struggling to find work. He's not himself. Ava, I know you've grown into a smart, capable young woman. Surely you can help your brother rebuild. And then the line that made my hands tremble. Not from sadness but from disbelief. We all made mistakes. Let's fix them, like a family. Ava came into the room as I was folding the letter. I didn't speak. I just handed it to her. She read it silently. Her face didn't change. No anger. No pain. When she finished, she looked up and said simply, "You kept it too neat." She walked to the back porch, grabbed the lighter from our emergency drawer, then paused. Changed her mind. Instead, she folded the letter again, this time into a paper airplane. She stepped outside, looked at the sky for a moment, and released it. The wind caught it immediately, lifting it higher, higher, until it arched over the garden and disappeared into the trees beyond. Not dramatic, not cruel, just gone. We stood there for a while in silence. Then Ava said, "She still doesn't get it." He nodded. "She never will." And that was the closure we didn't even know we wanted. Because forgiveness isn't always a conversation. Sometimes it's just the decision to stop carrying what never belonged to you in the first place. The Hale name used to be carved into everything we did. Now, it was just a whisper, one we no longer answered to. Justice doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes in quiet mornings. In the absence of fear. In the presence of self. People still ask me what changed. The truth. I did. Not all at once. Not in some grand cinematic moment. But slowly. Like breath returning to lungs after years of holding it in. One day, I realized I wasn't afraid to take up space anymore. To laugh too loud. To speak too clearly. To live too freely. And that's when I knew I had won. Not against them. But against the version of myself they tried to create. Now, I teach music to girls who were once told their voices didn't matter. I tell them, your silence doesn't make you weak. It makes you a storm waiting to rise. Sometimes Ava joins my class. She sits near the window, sketchbook in hand, head tilted to the light. The same girl they tried to break into silence, now creating worlds with every stroke of color. One afternoon, as I played a soft melody, she painted me. Later I saw the piece. It was me, but not as I remembered. Not broken. Not quiet. But strong. Facing forward. Lit from within. She called it unmuted. Cried. Not because I was sad. But because I was free. The camera pans slowly. I'm standing in a bright classroom. Piano keys beneath my fingers. Sunlight spilling through tall windows. Behind me Ava paints, barefoot, focused, at peace. The girls around us are laughing. Learning. Healing. And then, over it all, my voice returns. Quiet at first, then steady. Don't let anyone convince you that being quiet means you're weak. Sometimes silence is the sharpest blade. And when you finally speak, speak with truth. Let it burn the lies they built around you. The frame fades to white. Soft piano note lingers. Then silence. But this time it's not emptiness. It's power.